What's up everyone, this is Zafar and Tim. We're going to be doing a reaction video to the story of Karbala. This is one of the most important instances and events in the history of Islam. And I think this is something that gets brushed under the rug a lot. And a lot of people don't bring up the topic about what happened. And the religion, I think, will only be as strong as its history, right? So if we can go back and understand the events, what happened, what took place and stuff like that, it helps us to better understand our religion also. So that's why we wanted to take a look at this. Tim hasn't seen it. I haven't seen it.
Nope.
I do know a little bit. I do know a little bit about the history of it. So yeah, so I'll fill Tim in if he has any questions. But yeah, we'll get into it.
All right, let's go.
Just 48 years after the death of the Prophet Muhammad, his grandson Hussein was killed in the Battle of Karbala. Why did this battle happen, and why is it so important to Islamic history? After the fourth Caliph Ali was assassinated in 661, a power vacuum emerged, leading to Muawiyah assuming role as Caliph, despite opposition from part of the Ummah who wanted Hassan, son of Ali, who was the grandson of the Prophet, as the Caliph. To avoid further bloodshed after years of conflict, Hassan signed a peace treaty with Muawiyah. This treaty stipulated that Muawiyah would not appoint a successor after him. In the year 670, Hassan was assassinated, leaving his brother Hussein to take on his duties. The treaty was breached when Muawiyah named his son Yazid his successor in 680, beginning the Umayyad dynasty.
So after Muawiyah was supposed to go back to the Prophet's grandsons, but he instead gave it to his own son. So he broke the treaty.
Hussein refused, as Yazid was openly corrupt and known to be brutal. Hussein was forced to flee Medina under threat of imprisonment and assassination. He had received thousands of letters from Kufa, Iraq, pledging support for an uprising against Yazid. Of his refusal to pay allegiance, he said, "I am ready to fight for the sole goal of seeking the reform of the Ummah of my grandfather, the Prophet of Allah. I want to enjoin good and forbid evil." Hussein first went to Mecca for Hajj, but then left to avoid violence and preserve the sanctity of the holy city. Hussein departed with his family and companions to Kufa. In response to the threat of rebellion from the Kufans, Yazid dispatched the governor to Kufa to quash dissent. This led to thousands of Kufans withdrawing their support in the threat of violence.
So the city that was going to support him,
As
they withdraw their support because they were getting paid.
Intercepted by a battalion of Yazid's army, led by a man named Hur Abi. A greater army which numbered in the thousands, led by Umar bin Sa'ad, joined him and surrounded Hussein's camp in what is now known as Karbala in modern-day Iraq. The army cut off access to water for Hussein and his family, leaving the men, women and children to suffer from days of thirst in Iraq's blistering desert heat. The army demanded allegiance from Hussein, threatening him with death. Despite all the odds, Hussein refused to back down. On the night before the battle, Hussein told his companions that they were free to leave, but they pledged to stand beside him in the face of certain defeat.
The history narrates the numbers was
on the 10th of Muharram,
90, 80 people to against 20,000 or something like that.
Reminding the opposition that he was still the grandson of the Prophet and that he still wished to leave.
He reminded them
Moved
that
by
I'm the
Hussein's
grandson,
speech,
but
Hur
they
abandoned
didn't
Ibn
care.
Sa'ad's army and joined Hussein's.
And that's the thing. One of the generals from Yazid's army, in the moment of truth, when you see something that this is the correct path, this is where the truth lies, you will see it when a man is willing to sacrifice everything he has going up against your army, you know? There's something in there. Yeah. So one of the generals of Yazid's army, he realized what was happening. Even though he went into this war, he switched sides and he went to try and help Imam Hussein, even though their numbers were so little, and he knew that I'm in a good position. If I go over to the other side, I'm dying too. But he knew this is where the truth lies. So.
Okay.
The battle commenced, with Hussein's 70-odd companions facing off against an army of what many historians number to be 30,000. The companions of Hussein fought group by group and were martyred on the battlefield. Eventually, Hussein was left with a handful of remaining family members. They too were killed. Hussein, now with no one beside him, pleaded with the enemy forces for water for his 6-month-old baby. The enemy responded by firing a fatal arrow at the infant, killing Hussein's child in his arms. Hussein buried the child and bid farewell to the women and children of his camp. He fiercely charged into the battlefield, where, after fighting valiantly,
he was the last
eventually
one
fell
left.
from his
So
horse
imagine one
and was
man
surrounded by
riding
enemy soldiers.
towards like
The
a group
grandson
of
of the
20,000
Prophet
people.
was brutally attacked from all sides and beheaded. The enemy forces attacked and plundered the possession of the dead bodies, as well as the camp of Hussein's family. The tents were set ablaze with the women inside, which included granddaughters of the Holy Prophet. The family were taken captive by Yazid's army, later to be paraded to Damascus in Syria. The story of Karbala shook the Muslim Ummah as news spread, launching several uprisings across the Muslim Empire. Many argue that the Battle of Karbala forever changed the course of Islamic history. The day of Ashura is mourned globally by millions of Muslims, both Sunni and Shia, to honor the heroic stand of the Prophet's grandson, Hussein.
Yeah, so that's the end of the video. Any questions that you have about what you just saw?
So, so what happens like in Ashura then? Like,
That's the day that Imam Hussein officially passed away.
okay.
So it's just like a day of mourning. In the Shia sect, it's just like a day of mourning. But in the Sunni sect, they think of it as a day for them to fast, which we don't believe.
Okay.
So it's a little bit of a difference, but both sides agree on what happens on that day, and they know of the events. But I find it that like most of the times they do not like talk about or teach what happened in Karbala. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, like it's very like monumental. Like
Yeah, it was a very big turning point, and the religion caused a lot of uproar. That's why all these other stuff happened. But what I want to say is that if, for example, if it was me, I know that if I'm in a war where it's like the numbers are that like skewed towards the opposition, like I would just say anything just to get myself out of there, right?
certainly.
But like unless you know for a fact that this is what God wants and you are on the right way,
Yeah.
your sacrifice is going to mean a lot. Like you dying, you will get a lot from Allah. He will give you many times in return, you
Yeah.
know? And so like to me it just shows if a man is willing to do that, he's definitely on the right side, because I guarantee you no one else will be willing to go up against that type of numbers and still fight for what he believes. You know, like he tells them, I'm the Prophet's grandson. Like this
Yeah.
is the holy household, and the Quran it says like their family cannot be touched by any sins. Like they're purified. Like they do not commit sin, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the, like, so by that definition, their decision and what they choose is automatically correct, because they will never take the wrong decision. But when they tell you of things like this, like I'm the grandson of the Prophet, but people still go up against them, shows you who's on the right and who's on the wrong.
Yeah, it's really hard to understand. You know when you know when you are like the son of the Prophet, or grandson of the Prophet, and everybody worshipped the prophets,
Not worship,
right?
like
Or
followed.
follow
Yeah.
the prophets,
Yeah.
but they're still willing to
Do that
commit
to his
heinous
grandson.
crimes.
But that's the other thing in the religion is like a lot of people did follow him up until the point that he was with them. But then when he wasn't, then they kind of like started doing their own things, right?
Yeah,
And that kind of like shows you in this too, right? If you go up against the family of the Prophet, how much of his teachings are you really following, right? And that shows you a little bit of that. So
yeah,
yeah, I thought it was an interesting video.
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's very educational and
Mhm.
really helped clarify a lot of things that happened. And yeah, it was great.
Yeah, and if you guys have any questions about this video, or if you guys know a little bit more than us, just leave some information down below. We do read it.
Yeah,
It'd be
add your
helpful for
insight.
us,
You
yeah.
know, please leave your comments, because it's gonna really help us to better understand. Because
Mhm.
maybe there's things that we missed, that we were not aware about.
Exactly.
Things that wasn't explained in the video. So
Yeah.
feel free to comment and leave your opinions.
Yeah, make sure you like, subscribe, comment, And just so you guys know, there is a challenge issued to Tim.
Yeah.
By Ramadan, if you guys can get us to 2,000 subs, we will get Tim to fast here on one of the days of Ramadan. He will be vlogging this, so you guys will see his experience, what it's like for him to fast for the first time. He is Christian, so he's not Muslim, and he'll just be doing this for you guys, for your entertainment, just to see what it's like for just a normal person that's not Muslim to fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would like to see it, and if you guys want to see it, reach that goal for us. And until next time, peace.
All right. Peace.